for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of PodUp with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. It's a Wednesday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning, coming to you live from the International Diamond Center Studios. There are locations across the great state of Florida and right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out, International Diamond Center Studios. Also, Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Your number one local HVAC company. Need some business, go visit them at comforttemp.com. Today's program, we'll have JC here momentarily, then we'll have Mike Morgan. I think Mike is calling the Vanderbilt, South Carolina game this week. He called Mississippi State, Arizona State last week. We'll get his thoughts about what's going on in college football. In the meantime, we'll bring JC in. You're on the Titan and More hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. What's happening?
Well, I was watching a little bit of you and Buddy Martin yesterday, and you guys, I just sensed a little bit of resignation, kind of like, we know it's coming, and well, there's really nothing we can do about it, so we're not going to complain about it anymore. And that's a good, healthy attitude. It does help you when you invest less emotionally into what's making you miserable. And in this case, it's the Florida football team for at least 1 week. So maybe that was a sign that I'm starting to see and hear from a lot of fans here in town. Yesterday, as I was all over Gainesville yesterday, and when I kind of polled around and asked people, and they asked me what I thought and so forth, I said, well, there's really the more emotional equity you put into this, the harder it is going to be to feel good about it if you feel like you already know what's going to happen. So just kind of chill out a little bit and let the guys figure out what to do with this program, because I think the consensus is we all know what's coming in the next 4 weeks, QB. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, first of all, nothing ever bothers me about the football program. I don't let it affect my life, JC. I carry on. I mean, we got our ass beat by South Florida. I got up the next morning, went and played golf, right? So I didn't sit there and pout. It's out of my control. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is be supportive, hope we win. It's just a terrible loss. I don't know how she could say that. Real quick, we got a text on the Titan More text line. There are rumors. This is from Michael in Tennessee. There are rumors that the money for the buyout is still in place from last year. I guess they just kept it in like a closet. Strickland has separated himself from Billy with the success of the basketball team. Shane, do you know anything about this, and what are your thoughts? I don't. I will tell you this. Last year, what game was it, JC? I guess, was it after the Miami or the Texas A&M game? When
A&M
all
game.
hell yeah.
A&M.
That's when my phone blew up with, we have the buyout money. We're going after Lane Kiffin, blah, blah, blah. I've heard – I got a million texts on Sunday and Monday, but not one thing about buyout money or any of that stuff. Just let it play out. Here's the thing. Firing a guy right like today would be no good. It's not going to do you any good, really. I did talk to my man Frank Frangie over Jacksonville, he always has a good pulse on the thing. He thinks Billy's getting fired in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, he does.
He thinks John Gruden. He really thinks John Gruden is in play.
Man, you stole my thunder. You stole my thunder.
Look. I just don't like that.
Yeah. No, you said that yesterday, and he was on his radio show on 1010XL. He basically said, at the most, John Gruden's going to get a conversation with the Florida people because he is convinced, or Frangie is convinced, that Billy, he said flat out, he's going to get fired. And my scenario would be, well, when would that scenario happen? And I'm thinking maybe in the next month. But then I'm thinking to myself, what is the point of firing somebody in the middle of the year or giving him the choice to finish out the year and then leaving at the end of the year, kind of like what they did with Ron Zook, because the players don't want to see their coach leave. And the players don't want to have to deal with a change in the middle of the year when they're getting their brains beat out. It's just going to make it even worse. So my thinking is he may get fired, but effective at the end of the year kind of thing, the way they did Ron Zook.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, a lot of people worry about the roster also. You can't worry about the roster. If somebody leaves, they want to leave, let them leave. But the portal allows you to pick up other players, right? So
yeah,
I would not worry about that. So I don't know what's going to happen. We had a couple of Barone 71 here says talking about Kirk Signetti as a potential candidate for the head coaching job. Your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is the guy had 1 year and it was against nobody. They played nobody, but they are Indiana. So it was a great year. I think you need QB. I said it on Monday, you have to have, and Frangie said the same thing. And that's how Gruden came up in his conversation. But you need to have a splash hire. You need to have a massive name. You need to throw the bank at him, whatever it's going to take to get somebody in here. You don't need a coach that had one good year. I mean, how many times have we dealt with somebody that's had one good year and turned out to be a failure? I mean, McElwain was great at Colorado State. Okay, does that mean he's going to be good at Florida? You know, Will Muschamp was doing great things at Texas. He was the coach in waiting. Did that mean he's going to do great at Florida? Well, he had one good year. But then we have, you know, these situations where Billy Napier comes in, he's doing well in Louisiana, and does that mean he's going to really do well at Florida? Well, no. He's 500, and he's got a losing SEC record. So, to me, it's got to be a proven commodity, QB. And you say, well, who the hell is that going to be, JC? And I threw out a couple names on Monday, but it's just speculation.
Who are they? I already forgot.
Oh, what do you mean you already forgot? You know who they are. I said I want the guy at Mississippi to come in here. I've always wanted that guy to come in here. I think he's the perfect personality for what needs to happen at Florida, and I think he can attract really spectacular players through both the portal and through the traditional recruiting channel. But there are other names out there we can spend time thinking about, but it's pointless. The fact of the matter is they got to get somebody in here, in my mind, that isn't just somebody who's had one good year or something like that. He's got to have a pedigree. He's got to have a track record. He's got to have a following. And he's got to be someone that's willing to leave wherever he is and whatever he's doing to come to the University of Florida because he thinks it's a better job. And not everybody thinks that. So it's going to be interesting to see what Scott Strickland does because this is on him. This is going to be his second coach or third coach he's going to have to hire here in a month or so when they were 1-5. If they go 1-5, I told you Monday. I said it's 3-2, 2-3, or 1-5. In the that doesn't even make that's 6 games, 3-2. Okay, so 2-4, 1-5, or 3-3. That's what I'm thinking we're going to be at in the middle of the year right now, and I don't think Gator fans are going to be happy with that.
Kristen Mayak on the Titanamar text line says Frangie says that Gruden's definitely in play for the job. We need to throw the whole bag at Lane, but would he leave? He would have left last year. I would think there's probably only 2 jobs that Lane would leave Ole Miss for because he can sit there for the next 10 years, no pressure, make a lot of money, have fun.
Great deal there.
And be the greatest coach since Johnny Vault back in the 60s there.
Right.
But he knows he probably has a very difficult chance to win a national title there. But there's probably 2 jobs that are on his desk or, in his, Florida and Alabama would be the 2, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. Got a lot of messages here. 31 Ember wants to bring Urban back.
I don't think Urban's fit. I don't think Urban's fit for that. And I think Urban's happy with what he's doing, which is virtually nothing other than TV. QB, the Florida futures, though, for the SEC have stayed basically the same. They were plus 22.50. That's 22.5 to 1 before the season. Now they're 25 to 1. So they have gone up a little bit. But the big move in the SEC to win the conference, what do you think it is, QB, from the beginning of the season to right now? I think you know it, but what would you say off the top of your head?
Say it one more time.
What would be? Who do you think has had the biggest move to win the SEC on the board, odds wise, from the beginning of the season to right now? I mean, You know who it is. And
Oklahoma.
that's it. I mean, from 40-1 to 17.5-1. I jumped on that yesterday because I think it's only going to go shorter from here. Texas and Georgia still are the favorites. Alabama's gone down from 4-1 to 7-1. LSU's gone from 9-1 to 5-1. Mississippi has gone from 12-1 up to 17.5-1. And then everybody else has pretty much stayed pat, including Florida. South Carolina's gone from 20-1 to 40-1 somehow. And Mississippi State has gone from 500-1 down to 250-1. So there are your odds. Missouri's in there at 50-1. That might be a good play. But
I think another person that might be in play is your man at Missouri.
Yeah, well, Eli Drinkwitz, I was talking to my head coach up in Greenville, Mississippi yesterday. I'm a bull general at that high school, of course. And I said, what do you think about Eli down here? He kind of reminds me of you a little bit with the visor and all of the offensive play calling and the somewhat of a edgy attitude. I think you'd fit in pretty well down here. What do you think? And he agreed with that. So, Eli Drinkwitz wouldn't break the bank. And here we are. We've already fired Billy. So we're already talking about the next Florida coach, basically, which means you and I both think Florida's going to have a rough stretch in the next 4 games. Is that right? Even though I would not be one bit surprised if the Gators are inside the spread, which has now gone from 9.5 to 7.5 against LSU on Saturday. I think, and I asked you this on Monday, I said, do you believe teams play to the level of their competition? Yes or no? And you didn't really give me much of an answer. But I see Florida with an inspired effort on Saturday night in Baton Rouge. I don't think they're getting blown out. I think they're going to stay inside the spread, but I'm not sure if I have the guts to take that.
Well, you want an interesting stat here, JC? I saw.
Yeah.
Stats don't mean a whole lot, right?
No.
Out of the SEC 16 teams, who do you think has the most explosive offensive plays in the league?
The most explosive offensive plays in the league.
20, that means the most explosive offensive plays, 20 plus yards.
20 plus yards. Who do I think has it? I would say Tennessee. I don't know.
No, it's Ole Miss. They're number 2 in America. But where would you think the Gators rank out of the 16 teams as the most explosive plays? I mean, we're talking 2 games, right? But
yeah, we're only talking 2 games. I would say 11.
They're 10th.
I was almost there.
They're 10th and 50th in America. But listen to the teams they're ahead of.
Okay.
Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, LSU. LSU is 104th in America in explosive plays. Mississippi State and Kentucky. But anyway, none of that matters. I just thought it was interesting.
Well, it is, but we got to remember who they're playing, who these teams are playing. LSU had to play a Clemson defense on the road. There, you're not going to see a lot of pop and circumstance there, and they probably laid down last week and didn't show a whole lot with whatever it was they played last week with Florida coming. Some guy asked me yesterday, hey, did Florida overlook South Florida and look ahead to LSU? I said, I hope not. I don't think they had any business ever overlooking anybody, especially a team that just got done blowing out Boise State at home. So, no, I don't think that's the case. But I do think Florida, and this may be just contrary to what most people currently believe, because I think a lot of folks have thrown in the towel, but I truly believe they're going to play well on Saturday night and play inspired against LSU, and I really have no basis for it. I just think that there's too much talent on this team. There's too much talent on this roster, and if they clean up some things, they can be effective against LSU. I could be crazy about that. It could be a 24-point win for LSU, but I think they're going to stay inside of a touchdown or 10 points at least. And who knows, when you're inside of 7 points in the fourth quarter, anything can happen. We've seen that in the NFL here the last 2 night games that's been played, and that is the NFL. But football's crazy in the fourth quarter, man. Players play differently sometimes when it's tight, and you just don't know who's going to respond in the pressure, under the pressure, and who's not. And if Florida's close, inside of 7 points, a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, I think the Gators will have the advantage at that point because LSU is going to feel pressure, and so is Brian Kelly, because believe me, the folks over there are still not 100% behind Brian Kelly. I know that for a fact. So LSU's got some pressure on them as well, and even though they're the home team and they're the 9.5-point favorite, that's gone down to 7.5 for a reason. I think Florida is live to cover this, but we'll see. I could be absolutely.
Well, I do know that their starting tight end, and their starting center are out for the game, I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, they still have that kid playing quarterback, though. That's the problem.
Yes, I agree. I agree. He's very good. He's very, very good. I had to read this one. Hang on. Where is it? I wanted to read this. MSRK says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. You want offense? How about Gus Malzahn? No thanks.
We've
they completed 8 passes.
Well, Gus it seems like he's really good against one team, and that team seems to be, for whatever reason, Alabama. Doug says, am I drinking this morning? Am I crazy? Iceman says, just stop. Quit with the fake hope. Oh, man, that is total resignation. I'm telling you, folks have given up, QB. They've had enough, man. I get it. I understand. Listen, I'm just trying to bring some sort of hope. But I've seen these scenarios happen so many times in the past when you've got a team that's basically on the doormat come in and play inspired football because their coach is embattled. I've seen everybody who's watched football over the last 4 decades has seen that happen. I think that's where we're at right now. I think Florida isn't as bad as what it presented the other day. And I think that's because they've got good players on this team. I truly believe that. Now, maybe I'm crazy. The offensive line is just as
here's the thing, JC.
crazy.
Here's the thing. Here's what I try to tell people all summer long, and I think I said it on this show multiple times. I like our roster. I think it's an SEC caliber roster, but it ain't no different than Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. Everybody kind of has the same type of rosters in today's world. It's execution, getting breaks, and finding ways to win the games. So LSU's roster is just like the Gators roster, in my opinion. I don't think either one of them, you could say one's better than the other. I don't know how you would even say that, but people are asking about some of the injuries. The injury report doesn't come out till today.
Yeah. Ember, Doug, Iceman, they think I've lost my mind. I'm off my rocker, QB. Why am I off my rocker? The line has gone from 9.5 to 7.5. Who else thinks that? I mean,
they thought the line went from 17 to 18.5 last week, and we lost.
That was the wrong way.
Okay, so your theory ain't working.
Well,
Andy wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Shane, is there no team suspension for bet for spitting? What does that do to the locker room? I have not heard. They said they were going to. Billy said he was going to do whatever. I don't know. I would think something needs to come out. Eventually, but we'll see.
Well,
I don't know.
Listen, this kid felt such remorse. People make mistakes.
Yeah, he made a mistake.
Emotional things happen at the heat of the moment. You can't crucify him unless he does it again. If he does it again, then he's done. But it was a lack of discipline. It was, but he knows that. He felt terrible after the game from what has been reported. I don't have no reason not to believe that. I'm not ready to crucify the young player yet, unless it happens again. But I think this team has a lot of growing up to do still, and it's going to be hard because it's baptism by fire these next 4 weeks. And again, this team could be 1-4, 1-5, 3-3, 2-4. That's the way I see it. I don't see 4-2.
Jerry says on Facebook, I brought you about Mel roster isn't different than other teams. The difference is the coaching. I agree. I agree 100%. But also, it's execution, people. That's what bothers me when it comes to talking football with people that want to get on Twitter and rewind shit 100 times and say this should have happened or that should have happened. Okay. Well, what should happen is when you do draw up a play if you draw up 10 plays and guys are running wide open 9 of the 10 and you miss one, okay. But you can't miss multiple, right? You can't have, when you have a good running play called and your right guard and right tackle let a guy split you for a 3-yard loss, okay? That's called execution, people. So it goes both ways. I understand people. I'm not sitting here defending the coach. Right. I'm not defending any players. I'm just stating facts. Yeah. The facts are Ben Johnson the other night drew up some great plays for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams missed some of them. He made some throws on some other ones, and then he made Ben Johnson look good on a lot of his scrambles. It goes multiple ways. It's so easy to second guess, especially in the game of football, because it's slow moving and people get tape and then they want to act like they're Vince Lombardi behind a damn clicker.
Well,
right?
I don't have.
I'm not defending any coach.
Yeah.
We could sit here and who's the number one team in America right now? Is it Ohio State?
Yes.
We could sit here and watch tape of them and go, what in the hell are they doing here? It happens.
Well, QB,
Anyway.
it's kind of like what we used to talk about when I was playing baseball. My coach used to say, I can accept a physical mistake, ball bounce off your glove, ball bounce off your shin. What I don't accept is not knowing what to do with the ball before it gets to you in any situation, because that means you've checked out. And I sometimes think the coach either checks out or is incapable of staying with the situation, the situational awareness. I know the quarterback's going to overthrow a receiver. I can live with that, QB. I can actually even live with a running back who's trying to make an aggressive run, dropping the ball from time to time. It happens. The ball gets stripped. What I don't accept, though, is when you are up with 2.5 minutes to go and you fail to force the other team to use a timeout, or you don't give the ball to the best damn running back on the field because you don't know where he is.
Well,
that
tried.
is not acceptable.
We tried.
What?
We tried, but the quarterback threw the ball.
Well, did Jaden Ball get a call? Did they ask him to carry the ball one time? I mean, what are we talking about? Why am I coaching from a bar?
JC. We get the ball back with 2.5 to go or whatever. The first play was called was zone right. The quarterback threw the RPO, one-hopped it to the left. That was for Jaden Ball to carry. All right? He did carry it on second down. Third down, we threw an incomplete pass.
He carried it on second down? So you're telling me they ran the ball?
Somebody carried it on second down. I don't know which one, but somebody did. One
all
of the
right.
running backs did.
Well,
so again,
how many timeouts did South Florida burn in that possession? I don't think they burned one.
No, dude, I'm not arguing with that. I would have run it 3 times if all 11 guys were in the box and people would have booed, and I wouldn't give a damn because I'd make them use their timeout.
Right.
The bottom line is, I don't think people understand when I talk football. I am not defending. I don't care if it's.
I'm not saying you're defending him. I'm telling you what I don't like.
I'm talking about the people on the damn text things here, JC.
I try to text for a minute.
I try to.
Look, QB, it's just simple situational awareness. That's what I don't mind physical mistakes. I mind the mental issues that we have closing out football games.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. But physical mistakes of not setting your feet and throwing an accurate throw or taking the right proper steps and hand placement by your right guard, those are physical, but they're also mental, easy things that should never, ever happen.
That's
about fundamentals.
Fundamental. That's fundamental.
I know. And our quarterback is not fundamentally sound. It's bad. I said it last year because everybody gave me crap. He's an off-platform thrower. You don't need to practice that crap because your natural athletic ability allows you to be an athlete to make off-platform throws.
Yeah.
But that's the facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
I agree with that. I think you're right. I mean, there's no doubt you're right. But
all right. Well, David says I'm defending the indefensible. David doesn't understand football either. I am not defending Billy Napier. I'm not defending. I'm talking football in general here. We just talked about it. You're talking about Billy errors. We saw it on Monday Night Football, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. We're just talking football in general. I'm not talking about the Florida Gators. I'm using them as an example. But like I told you, give me the Ole Miss tape, and I can tell you the same thing about Lane on some of the stuff he does.
Yeah.
But it's easy for us to sit here and do it because we're not having to make that decision within 10 to 15 seconds, and we're talking about it after the fact.
But
after the fact, it's easy. We're the Monday morning quarterbacks.
But okay, fine. But QB, this has been going on for 3.5 years. This has not happened just recently.
I am not arguing that. That's what I'm not saying.
All right.
I'm
that's
saying
what people are pissed about.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. We all know Billy has trouble at times calling plays. However, we also have trouble executing the plays that are being called, is my point. It goes both ways.
Okay, that's fine.
Everybody wants to blame Billy. I get it. Blame him all you want. He's making a lot of money. He's a grown man. He'll be fine whenever whatever happens. But our players are making a lot of money now, and they're not executing.
Yeah.
It's both ways.
Well, David says here on YouTube, fundamentals are a coaching issue, QB.
No, that's not true. That's
what David says. David says fundamentals are a
But here's the
thing.
thing. everybody talks about development and this, that, and the other. There's only so much you can do with certain people. You can practice all the correct fundamentals in practice because it's not live action. When live action happens is when that person's natural stuff happens. I don't know how to explain it. We're going to talk quarterback fundamentals because that's what I did my entire life. All right. DJ's fundamentals were terrible last year. I said it multiple times. He was throwing off the wrong foot, off balance, but he made great throws. Okay. It ain't happening this year, and his fundamentals are the same. But the coaches try to fix that. I see what they do in practice every day. So anyway, I'm not trying to pick on anybody on the Gators. We're just talking football here because we could talk about this with every team around America. But I have a problem when you do have people running wide open, or you do have a toss sweep, and we're supposed to crack the end man on the line of scrimmage, and that person whiffs, and you get tackled for 4 yards, and if he just barely touches the guy, we run for 15. That's called execution. That's on the players, so it goes both ways. David says, then bench him if he does it for him. Spurrier, I did a podcast with him yesterday. He said he would have put him on the bench. I agree 100% with that.
I would have had no problem seeing Trammell play in the third quarter last week.
Yes, and this ain't all on the quarterback because defensively, as I've told you, I still think we're not very good.
Yeah,
well, been saying it for 3, 4, 5 years.
Well, that'll be the reason why they don't cover on Saturday night. I think. I've been on the offense's backside all week, but defensively, you're right. I mean, if they can't stop. But again, South Florida scored 1 touchdown the other night. You should win the game when that team scores 18 points, QB. But we've been through this enough. I think we better start looking forward to the LSU game because that's what's next. You can't do anything about South Florida. It is over. Hopefully this week they have found something and gotten better because they're going to have to be on Saturday night. But I think sometimes getting out of town and going into a hostile environment could actually be good for you when everybody's on your ass back at home. So we'll see. I just believe Florida's going to play a lot better on Saturday night. I'm not a big fan of the leadership. We all know that. I certainly don't believe the coach is going to last. But in terms of this one game on Saturday night, this team's going to play with his hair on fire. I believe that's the case. Yes.
We shall see. I would hope
I don't
so,
think you sound as confident as me, QB. You don't sound nearly as confident about that as I am.
Well, no, the reason I say that is because I need to see us go out and execute.
Yeah.
I just think our execution has been poor, and you can blame that on the coaches. You can blame on whatever, but I'll argue with anybody. I'll be happy to sit down and watch any football game on tape with anybody that wants to do that and explain to them how football works.
We should do a promotion. Watch football with the QB.
I am not taking up for any coaches or any players, but what I'm saying is when you go watch the tape after the fact, see, I can't even. I'll give you this example.
Okay.
Even players after they score a touchdown or you have a great run or a great block or a great throw, they still go, you know what? I probably should have done this or done that.
Yeah, I believe that.
Anyway, I'm trying to forward this to Mike Morgan.
Mike Morgan? What?
So anyway, bottom line is,
QB.
JC, let me ask you this. If you're the coach,
okay,
before we get to Mike Morgan, if you are a coach and you called a play and you think it's a good play, and your right tackle whiffed, or your tailback went the wrong way, or your quarterback threw it to the wrong person, what would you think? I just want your opinion.
My opinion would be furious. I'd be like, what have we been working on all week that you didn't execute, kid?
Thank you.
No,
thank you. Is that your problem or is that the player's problem?
No, that's a mental problem. I think the kid messed up. I don't mind drop passes, but when you're in the wrong place or you're not lined up properly, there's something fundamentally wrong with that.
Right. And then if you have a run play and you're motioning someone, because depending on where you snap that ball will affect the defense.
Yeah.
But you snap it in the wrong place and it screws up the whole play. Is that a bad play call?
Yeah, I mean,
probably not.
No,
the player screwed it up. I'm just trying to give an example to people how calling plays works.
Yeah. Well, you've done it before,
anyway.
so I get it. All right.
Right.
Well, maybe
Do you
Mike
think-
will solve the problem for him.
I'm waiting on Mike, but the
Okay.
thing is, do you think?
Yeah. Do I think?
Hang on. Do you think Coach Spurrier called a bad game against Alabama in the 1992 SEC championship game?
No, I think he called an exceptional game, but I also think he's made some mistakes against Florida State. Yes, but that's just the way it is. How about that?
I know. I'm just throwing some examples out there.
No. Listen, nobody.
Sorry, JC.
QB, you're right. Nobody's called the perfect or played the perfect game, but we have seen so much of the same crap here that
I agree.
Lost their minds.
I agree.
I don't blame them.
But here's my point. With all the blunders that happened Saturday, the bad snap, the safety, the busted coverage.
Yeah.
If we just execute 2 out of the 12 plays that were really good, we win the game.
Yeah, maybe.
Just 2 out of 12.
All right. Well, people better start
saying.
focusing on LSU right now because that's
right.
what's next, and that is not going to be easy either. But I still see an inspired game played by these kids, and I hope it's close. But we'll see. I could be absolutely 1,000% off base here. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Have a good day, Jay.
All right,
that
brother.
went by way too fast.
It did.
Silverback Concrete builds firm foundation for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. Quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Mike Morgan. You're watching, listening, PodUp Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Sign, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Naysayers. Setbacks. Injuries. Life throws a lot of hurdles your way. The key is just keep jumping them.
Coach, you know what always impressed me, how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave Los Linderos Tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean head beer coach, 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos Tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos Tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios, Miapa Latin Cafe, proud to support Gator Nation, 22 years. New location open in Alachua, new building, same great food, service with a smile. Check out one of our 5 locations today. Let's go to the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Hill. We're joined by our man, Mike Morgan. Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, Shane. I'm sorry I missed you Monday. That's on me. But sometimes Verizon's on a hot streak, man. Either their network's not working entirely, or it just doesn't switch the times. So last week I was in Starkville, and we stayed on Central Time. Apparently, at least Verizon did. But no, I'm back, excited. I think you and I are doing musical chairs because I'm currently in Florida and you're currently in Georgia. So that's supposed to be the other way around, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. All right. First of all, let's just get your thoughts briefly because I want to touch on football around the conference
Yeah.
and the nation and the game you called. Just your thoughts on Florida losing to South Florida.
I mean, Shane, I listen to your show every morning, and I understand the frustration from the fans. And look, you can slice and dice this up 100 different ways, as you do a great job of. And kudos to you. You're the first person I thought of as I'm hearing that score. I'm calling my game, and our studio host is giving the updates. I was like, damn it, Shane Matthews warned everybody about this 5 months ago. You were all over the possibility of this. There's just no excuse to score 16 points. We can analyze this 1,000 different ways. There's no excuse to score 16 points against USF. 11 penalties, more time management issues. Stop me if you've heard all this before. It doesn't seem like a well-oiled machine. And Billy Napier opens himself up to even more criticism by refusing to just bring in an offensive coordinator, which it seemed abundantly clear that he should do. I don't know.
Well,
I don't
you can't
know.
do it in the middle of the season.
Well, I agree, but that should have been done in the off season, and I don't know why it wasn't. I just Billy is good at a lot of things, but that has not worked. It clearly has not worked. And then the bigger issue, as I look at it, Shane, watching this program, when I take a look at programs that are in disarray. Very often coaches are tied to quarterbacks. You know, like Jeff Driscoll had the one good year, but for the most part, he was disappointing, and that, amongst other things, helped Will Muschamp get fired. Since Will Greer and losing him to the PED suspension and going to West Virginia, I was looking at the guys that have been under center, Shane. Luke Del Rio, Austin Appleby, Felipe Franks, Malik Zaire, Kyle Trask had the one good year. Emory Jones, Anthony Richardson, Jack Miller for a little bit. Graham Mertz got what you wanted out of Graham Mertz. Unfortunately, he got hurt. And now DJ Lagway, which he's not the type of all-conference player that you'd hope he'd look like so far. And maybe he doesn't become that. And those two are eternally linked, I believe. I don't think that Billy Napier can survive without DJ Lagway playing like an all-SEC quarterback. He hasn't thus far, and the team looked shoddy on offense, sloppy, and again, down the stretch, if it's a close game, how many Florida fans really have confidence, if it's a one-possession game late fourth quarter, that this team is going to pull off a victory? I think that's an issue. That's a big issue. So I don't know what it turns out to. It seems like deja vu all over again when we were doing this segment about a year ago, and then
Yep.
and then they turned it around, right, Shane? But if you win at LSU, that'll exercise a lot of demons. But if you lose, and if you lose looking bad, and some of the same demons are presenting themselves again, it's going to be a very long week beginning next Monday.
Yeah. I'm concerned going to LSU. I think Garrett Nussmeier is very good, and South Florida is not a very good offensive football team. They don't have a great thrower. I think Nussmeier may have a field day because we can't get to the quarterback. We got to him last year, I think, because it was at home. I've told people this all the time, Mike, on my show. I wasn't still real excited. I mean, I was glad we beat LSU and Ole Miss last year, but I just say we were extremely fortunate to win those games.
Yeah.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Jimmy from Valdosta, by the way, in Georgia.
Hey.
He wants to know, Mike, if there is a coaching move, give me 3 of your top candidates.
Oh, gosh. Well, the guy that just rolled into Gainesville and picked up a W is a guy I've been high on for a while, and I call him the Moscow Mule, Alex Golish. Now, that's not the sexy name. So you can float out the John Gruden rumors, look, John Gruden behind the scenes has been politicking for an SEC football job for a while now. This is not newsworthy. And I don't know anybody that truly has a source that's like, oh, yeah, John Gruden, A, that's the job. B, Florida's that's the hire. I mean, that's talk show fodder, but I don't know if there's any legitimacy to it. I've heard too many John Gruden rumors to Tennessee and other places where I'm not going to get all bent out of shape out of that. But I think if you're – and the other thing is, too, and this is what I remind fan bases all over when we're talking about this on the podcast, is that fans like to think they can get whoever they want because they think their job is the best. It's like you look at your wife.
Right.
And you think she's the greatest thing ever and the most beautiful woman on the planet. And sometimes that's not necessary. That doesn't necessarily match up with reality. So, like, if you're the head coach of Oregon, why are you leaving for Florida right now? The Lane Kiffin rumor, that's a different layer, as you know, Shane. In fact, you know more than most on that. But I wonder if Lane's not really cozy in Oxford right now. It seems like every time I'm there, he looks pretty damn happy. Does he want to go to Florida right now where it just every coach seems to get fired in a few years and they can't get it going? It's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I think you could have to wind up being creative again. And the problem is when Florida has had to be creative in the hire, that is not hire just the proven commodity, right? You know, like Alabama got Nick Saban, proven commodity. When you don't do that, you have to make hires like a Will Muschamp, like a McIlvain, like a Dan Mullen, and like a Billy Napier. You go with the hot coordinator or you go with the hot group of 5 coach, head coach. And very often that doesn't work, and it obviously hasn't been working in Gainesville. So I can give you a list of names, but my list would be guys that I think are very realistic. So that's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily tie up with the list that everybody wants to hear. And the eye candy names like a John Gruden, like a Lane Kiffin, like a coach, Oregon team. I just don't know how realistic those are right now.
Well, I think 2 realistic names, but I'm with you on Lane because I really think Lane would leave Ole Miss only for 2 schools, Alabama and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But he can be there another 10, 12 years and be the greatest coach of all time at Ole Miss and have zero pressure at all.
Yes.
But I don't think there's anywhere in the world we hire John Gruden. That does not move the needle for me at all.
No.
Because you're talking about running the football in West Coast passing game, which is slants, shallow crosses, a lot of very, very short intermediate stuff. But I think there's only 2 coaches. Well, yeah, 2. I think Eli Drinkwitz is in play. He's he's a different dude, but he's done a really good job at Missouri every year.
Yes.
And I think Lane could still be in play.
I'm a big Eli Drinkwitz guy, and I've sat down with Eli. I remember one time I asked him, when did you start wearing the visor? What that's all about? He said, Steve Spurrier. I idolized Steve Spurrier, and he wore it, so therefore I wore it. Eli's the kind of guy that I think fans would fall in love with. Now, again, Missouri all of a sudden the last couple of years, and this is why they've gotten better, they have found money. They have found financial resources. They have managed to be a big factor in NIL and facilities and everything else. So the question always becomes, okay, how happy is he there? 'Cause you're not just going to offer $5 million a year more than Missouri. These are SEC programs too, and they have financial resources. So I don't think it comes down to money at that point. It just comes down to, if you're Eli Drinkwitz, do you feel like you've taken Missouri as far as you can? Which I would say he has, 21 wins the last 2 years. And it used to be Florida was that just spoke for itself. Like that, here's a job where the last 2 coaches, going back to when it was Steve and Urban, not the last 2, I realized there was Ron Zook in the middle, want to combine 3 national championships and countless SEC championships. You could sell that and it would be like, oh yeah, going to Gainesville, great recruiting base, great everything. And now the facilities are up to speed. They weren't a few years ago. They are now. But I'm not so sure. Every coach, behind the arrogance, here's a term I always use, Shane. Coaches look at things three-dimensionally, not two-dimensionally. And one of those dimensions is, I call it the path of least resistance. It's kind of like what you were saying about Lane. Lane can win 8, 9 games a year, and he's a god. You do that in Gainesville, and you're on the hot seat. Right now, Eli Drinkwitz is on a heater at Mizzou, and nobody is going to put him on the hot seat if he loses a couple games. Does he want to go to Gainesville, where the average coach is getting fired in, 3.2 years? That's not the path of least resistance. That might be the better job with more top-end potential, but it's not the path of least resistance. So then it comes down to like personality and preference at that point. I don't know truly what makes Eli tick. But I do know if there's a coaching change in Gainesville, he has to be on the list of guys that you go after. It would make all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah, Zach on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, what would fans fuss about Kiffin if he was the coach? Oh, trust me. If he were our coach the way he coached against us last year, going 1 for 5 on 4th downs, trust me, my Ole Miss people raised hell because of the Kentucky game last year and the Florida game. It doesn't matter where it is, people. You're going to bitch and complain about your coach, regardless of decisions they make. Mike, moving out of getting away from the Gators, you called an unbelievable game in Starkville the other day. You talking about coaching decisions? What in the hell was Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State coaches doing on the last play of the game?
See, everybody loves an arrogant riverboat gambler coach until it gets you beat. How you play cover zero in that situation is just shocking. If you listen to our call on Elite Media Network, I mean, I am truly, there's a lot of emotion that goes through, and I'm excited about calling almost a walk-off touchdown. But there's also this shock of, where the hell is the secondary? How do you not have a safety in the middle of the field on a play like that? The route was not that complicated. It's basically like a skinny post. Give Shapen time, though, and this is what my analyst pointed out, and you would have pointed out, Shane, being the savant that you are in quarterback play. He waited and waited and waited for that to develop because it wasn't open right away. It's not a quick slant. He had to wait for the receiver to make his move, a little bit of a double move before he broke inside. That takes a little bit of patience by Shapen in the pocket. Wait, now, boom, and hit it. And at that point, it's game over. It was a phenomenal game, and I'll say this. I've done a number of games at Starkville. That is easily the best crowd I've heard in forever. So, look, I don't know how good Mississippi State's going to be this year. I know they're better everywhere, and when Shapen is healthy, they're a much better football team. I was happy for Jeff Levy and those guys, but it was a really well-played game. It came down to the last possession, and it came down to an incredible pass play and execution by the Bulldogs.
Yes, indeed. Gator Art says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, ever since we built the indoor, we haven't been good at all. Should have stayed practicing outside. Ever since we brought Tom Petty, Won't Back Down, and we got the damn Jordan logo, on our damn uniform, we've been terrible. Mike, we got
there you go,
minutes.
Shane.
Yeah. Oh my God, don't do that. It makes me sick when they say that. Georgia, Tennessee this week. Who you like?
I can't go against Georgia, and Georgia's defense has been kryptonite for Josh Heupel. That is the one code that Josh Heupel has not been able to crack, and so until he does it, I'm not going there. I know that's a popular pick to take Tennessee at home. I know Georgia's not as explosive on offense as they have been. There's a lot of doubters of Gunnar Stockton still, but in a game like this, in Kirby, we trust. I'm going Kirby Smart, and I'm going Georgia. Joey Aguilar is fine. I don't think he will be the reason that they win or lose, but I don't think their running game is going to be as strong without Dylan Sampson. I'm not sure their defense is as good. And again, when in doubt, I take Kirby and Georgia.
Yeah, you're going to be calling the Vanderbilt game. I think they outscored Virginia Tech 32-0 or something like that in the second half.
Yeah.
The game is in Columbia. What do you see in that game?
It's a big game for a lot of different reasons. You know, South Carolina's just sitting there. They were 10th in the country. Now they're 11th. Lenoris Sellers is this incredible freakazoid-type athlete that has not gotten off to a great start. And this is a showcase game for him in a lot of ways. It's going to be prime time. There's going to be a sellout crowd. It's Pavia sellers. Pavia has been kind of popping off at the mouth about this game for a while, is saying, yeah, I've got it circled and everything else. This is not your older brother's Vanderbilt team. They are physical. They do have an NFL tight end in Stowers. And Pavia just makes plays. Is he a great passer? No. Is he a pro? No. But he's a good college quarterback. So I think it's intriguing. This line, this is for my man JC, opened up at 8.5. It's already down to 5.5. It's basically, wow. Yeah. So what does that tell you? A lot of money went on the Commodores. The Sharks within 24, 48 hours are like, give me Vandy plus the points. But it's a big game because, Carolina barely missed a playoff last year. They have playoff aspirations this year. You've got to win this game if you're going to do it. You have to. And if you're Vanderbilt, if you can pull this off, man, give Clark Lee another extension because he's doing great things over there in Nashville.
Yeah, he is. I didn't think they'd be very good this year, but, we'll still see. All right, before we let you go, Mike, give me your thoughts on Florida LSU.
Look, you and I are in the same camp on Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's the best quarterback in the SEC, if not the country. And unlike last year, they have built a lot around him on both sides of the ball. Offensively, their receiving core is better. Defensively, they're just better everywhere. They crushed it in the portal. They absolutely crushed it in the portal. So it's one of those where Florida clearly is going to have to play its A game if they're going to pull off an upset, and it would be considered that, especially with the game being in Baton Rouge. Florida took care of business last year against these guys, but it's a different team. So, Shane, the way I look at it, LSU is better than they were last year. Is Florida? As of right now, they're not. So how do you win this game? How do you win this game? And do you stop making penalties? Are you good with clock management? And of course, front and center is DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people had as an all-conference quarterback, as a guy that's just, blue chip all the way. These are the kind of games, as you well know, define legacies as a quarterback. What does DJ Lagway do? How does he look in this ball game? Because it can't just be Jaden Ball. I'm sure LSU is well aware they're not going to let Jaden Ball run wild for 150, right? So how does Lagway look? How does he perform in this game?
Yeah, time will tell. It should be interesting. We're in the best atmosphere in all of sports, Tiger Stadium. Tell us all about Elite Media Network.
Yeah, just it's been a lot of fun. It's a new network, very similar to like a Westwood one, National Football Game of the Week. And the first question you always get from people, well, where can I hear the game? What station is it on? Well, what if the station's crackling at night on a low watt? You don't have to worry about any of that. It's free on iHeart and TuneIn, which are the two biggest streamers in the world. Just type in Elite Media Network. 24 hours a day, running very good shows, much like this particular one on the air. And then when we're not running shows, they're airing games like the ones that we have each and every Saturday. We've got South Carolina Vandy this week. We've got the Civil War next week. Oklahoma, Texas, Florida State, Miami. We got a lot of good ones. Ole Miss, Florida coming up. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's very easy to get, crystal clear, no matter where you are in the world, Shane.
Awesome. Mike, appreciate your time. We'll have you back on Monday, correct?
Yes, we will. I will be on the East Coast, Eastern Time Zone. Verizon will cooperate, and I look forward to doing it following the great John Cornell.
There you go. Appreciate it. That's Mike Morgan joining us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations on Northwest 13th Street, Williston Road, and coming soon to Jonesville. Appreciate it, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.